This garden began when a little girl was born. Until then, Deborah Paredez and Frank Guridy had never grown food.
I was raised on the 25th floor of a 33-story building in the Bronx, New York. Had no clue about gardening at all.
We bought the house in 2004. In 2004, and the backyard had some landscaping, but there was, no food at all growing here. And we do love good food, and we really tried to eat responsibly. And over time, we in addition to wanting to sort of share this experience with our daughter, we really thought it just makes sense to try to be more active agents in how we consume.
As associate professors at the University of Texas, renowned authors, community game changers, and then as new parents, their lives were already packed. To jumpstart them, they worked with Randy Jewart of Resolution Gardens to educate them and, in turn, daughter Zaya.
I think that was, like a lot of people that we work with, that was her motivation as well, is that people want to start a garden because they want to teach their kids, which is fantastic reason for getting started.
After founding Austin Green Art, Randy segued into his mission to bring healthy food and wildlife gardens to anyone who needs a helping hand. In this garden, he grubbed out dead tree roots and top growth to extend the original raised beds.
We started at the ledge of the terrace, and so let's just kind of work our way up the hill, and we'll add a bed behind what we've got. And so the priority was to expand the vegetable garden and then to try to do something with the fence.
To soften and ornament the fence, Randy trellised fast-growing vines.
We call it hog panel. Some people call it horse fence or cattle fence or whatever, but we love the 4-inch fencing because it's so flexible with what you can do with it. And it's a much cleaner look than chicken wire or any kind of welded wire that comes on a roll. In this case, we stuck some of it onto the existing fence, which we do a lot with just a little spacer so the vines have room to go behind it. And then, you could wire it to a T-post or, in this case, some cedar posts, which is another thing that we like to use a lot. As just kind of a ranch aesthetic. We like the posts with the bark on them, and it has kind of a rustic look to it. You can power wash them to get the bark off, which is a fun look too.
T-posts support blackberries that Zaya will be able to just pick and eat off the vine. As Randy extended the terrace, he gave them a topside get-together perch. Ever recycling, he repurposed the former owner's chinning bars to support a palm frond palapa.
They have the cooker in the corner, and we wanted to create some shade back there because if you were standing there in the evening with the blazing sun coming over the roof, stuck in that corner, you'd be as fried as your sausages.
After extending the beds and its walkways, Randy brought in good soil and compost for ornamentals, fruits, herbs, and vegetables. Then he showed the family how to cultivate them.
Initially, we just wanted Randy to help us put some food in one bed, like maybe a 5-by-5 foot bed, or, something what we thought to be very manageable, something we couldn't mess up. And it started with that. And then as the years went by, each year we just added a little more with the help of Resolution Gardens. Each step really felt like a leap of faith. Like we didn't quite know if we could manage it at all, and we kind of felt over our heads pretty much from the beginning, and yet we also felt like this is the right thing to do, and I also felt like it kind of taught us how to take a leap of faith. I don't have to feel precious about it. It doesn't have to be perfect. I don't have to be perfect. You can try something and it can fail, and you have another season coming around to try again, something new.
There's always an element of surprise to it, right? So, I mean, so the one year the tomatoes were bad, and the next year they were like overflowing, or last year eggplants just kept growing and growing and growing, or the basil just took over like a huge section in the bed back there. So, I think that's another thing that is, it's a nice surprise. Like, year to year, something may not work, and then something works in ways that you didn't anticipate.
Zaya's learning lessons for life.
I do think that she can learn a lot about how to take risks in the world, how to take leaps of faith by, seeing that, you may plant something and no matter your best efforts, it just may not work out. Or you may have plentitude, and then what's your responsibility when you have plentitude?
She understands that food is a process, like it's labor,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And it's not easy. I mean, on the one hand, this garden is a testament to how we can learn it. But on the other hand, it requires skill. It requires, people are making this food, right? So she's learning at an early age that what we consume is something that is produced, and that it really requires an appreciation, understanding that that's how the food arrives at your table.
Absolutely. And I think as people of color, that's been especially important for us to instill in our daughter, that food is the result of labor, and often labor of, in our case, Mexican Americans or, Afro-descended people, that they've often been the laboring force that's brought our food.
As a poet and artist, Deborah enriches Zaya's perceptions on another dimension.
I do think, beauty's for everyone, and I really do believe that. Beauty can be created out of the everyday, and any functional task doesn't have to be devoid of beauty. And so one could think, oh, it's a garden, it's an edible garden, therefore it's kind of just functional. And I think no, there's absolute beauty. Or whether it's just an appreciation, training your eye to see the beauty that's there, the new buds on the peach tree, for example.
Along with the sense of her place in the world and responsibility to its community, Zaya's seen how daily steps make a difference for the future.
If you just sort of take a season at a time, that it can be manageable on a personal level with time and energy, and also financially, to just kind of chip away at it. And, that's what makes it fulfilling, is there's always new things to learn.
I think it was the African blue basil that we let bloom, and what was so beautiful was that, well, literally beautiful, right? Is that because there was so much, by letting some just go ahead and bloom, the butterflies and the flowers themselves just created a kind of beauty from, what we thought to be is, oh no, there's this basil we won't be able to use. And in the end, instead of saying, no, look at this basil, look who's using it, the butterflies, and this is bringing us beauty. So in the end, it was absolutely useful to us by just being such a source of beauty.